Hello, I'm Vivian Kobusingye Birchall, and I'd like to reflect with you about the Juneteenth holiday. The Transatlantic Slave Trade Database estimates 12.5 million Africans were shipped to the New World between 1525 and 1866. About 1.8 million did not even survive the journey, and 10.7 million who did were enslaved. Members of many tribes and ethnic groups were enslaved, with the largest numbers coming from the Bakongo of the present-day Democratic Republic of Congo and Angola, and the Mande of Upper Guinea, the Bay speakers of Togo, Ghana, and Benin, the Akan of Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and Wolof of Senegal and the Gambia, the Igbo of southeastern Nigeria and the Mbundu of Angola, the Yoruba of southwestern Nigeria, the Chamba of Cameroon, and the Makua of Mozambique. These people were stripped of their families, culture, language, livelihoods, and their familiar environment. They were forced into labor with no compensation and subjected to physical and sexual abuse. They lived in inadequate housing conditions and suffered from the brutal, unfair winters. They had constant fear of being resold to different masters and having to relearn new ways of survival under them. They were property, just like one would own a home and other household items. They did not have a voice, but they were resilient. They had to be. Slavery in America did not universally end that June 19th. In a few states, it remained legal by the 13th Amendment 2 years later. Even then, it was perpetuated for decades through peonage by plantation owners telling their former slaves that they must continue working to pay off the fictitious debt owed for past housing or food, and through laws criminalizing vagrancy, under which unemployed black men were arrested, imprisoned, and then rented out as labor. After the U.S. Department of Justice formed its Civil Rights Unit in the 1930s, people were prosecuted for keeping slaves in the 1940s and 1950s. And you may have seen in the news the past 2 years when a South Carolina restaurant owner was convicted in a federal court of enslaving an African-American man with an intellectual disability for 5 years, forcing him to work 100-hour weeks with no pay and subjecting him to beatings and abuse, and was ordered to pay restitution. So why do I mention all of this? What do these stories mean to us? What does this day mean to us? Today is an opportunity to reflect on the cruelty of slavery, to recognize the capability of the human heart to become indifferent and inhumane by choice or greed, and to remind ourselves to not make the same mistakes. Although African Americans were emancipated under the law, there are still invincible chains around them, embedded in biased systems and structures in healthcare, education, housing, criminal justice, leadership, employment opportunities, to mention but a few. We can choose to defy inhumane rules, practices, and biases, and in doing so make our world, country, and community a better and more welcoming place. To all the allies who defy the rules set by oppressors, we thank you and acknowledge you. It is through people like you in the past that we stand here today. Observing the day the word of emancipation reached the enslaved Africans in Texas. And it is with the help and bold steps of courageous men and women and children that we continue to break the systemic and structural chains that remain today. In closing, I would like to request for a moment of silence to remember all the innocent human beings that are African ancestors who lost their lives to slavery. Thank you for reflecting with me. And with that, I would like to wish you a happy and reflective Juneteenth holiday. Thank you for watching.